One of the most important things that came out of this breakfast, this National Prayer Breakfast, was the testimonies from the Austronesian people. For one thing, I didn't understand the history as much. I read about it, but there's more than 4,500 years where this migration took place, and they call it island jumping, where from Taiwan they went to these islands. So there's a connection of the older brother, elder brother, younger brother. And Taiwan has a strategic role to play in reaching these islands for Christ. And not just spiritually, but also financially and in other ways, because they're called the elder brother, younger brother impact. And what I went away with that breakfast and then just meeting with Austronesian people was the younger brother now is asking the older brother, the elder brother, for help. The younger brother is asking the elder brother for materials, for more information, for more concern. There's a connection, a desire from the younger brother to the elder brother to help. Almost like the Macedonian call in the Bible where they said to Paul, come over here and help us. It's the same kind of effect. It's the younger brother saying to the older brother, come help us. Come help us. Come help us in our church. Come help us financially. Come help us develop some businesses to be able to survive. Come help us. And so I see Taiwan as very strategic in being able to answer that call, going over to these islands and entering in and giving what they can and helping where they can and ministering where they will. And I think that will make a tremendous impact on all those islands. And they're so isolated, many of them. They have to go hours on a boat or canoe to go to the next island to be able to get an airplane to go to somewhere else. They're all kind of isolated. And so they really look at Taiwan for help. That's very powerful, and I think Taiwan is strategically placed, and church is spiritually placed to be able to go and help. Yes, I was a part of the 21-day fasting for the nations here in Taiwan. Obviously, I was doing that in America. My wife and I meet every morning before, for an hour and a half for our RPG. And we had actually some of the various artifacts that I brought back from Taiwan, and we had the things that the Austronesian people gave us, and we would pray over the nations and pray over Taiwan and to see what the next step would be. What is the Lord asking Taiwan to do? What is the Lord asking the RPG movement to do? And I believe the Lord gave me during that time, and it was also affirmed by those who were already praying, because I watched it on GOODTV, on YouTube, the testimonies from the leaders of these 21, I don't know, a number of Americans came, but there were 4 or 5 that gave testimony. And in that testimony, they were saying that they heard from the Lord that Taiwan was like the church in Ephesus, they could be the open door to reach Asia. And I saw that same thing, that Taiwan is strategic in reaching Asia. Well, how are you going to do that? I think Taiwan already has the structure with the RPG movement. I mean, you can't go anywhere in Taiwan and not have somebody talk about the RPG movement. Just the other day, 2 days ago, I was getting out of a taxi to go to a restaurant to eat, and there were 10 people walking by, and they looked up and said, Apadan, we saw you on GOODTV. And then last night, I got a Uber to go back to my hotel. And inside, the Uber driver said, Papadan, I saw you on TV. RPG, it's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without RPG coming up. So what is the next step for RPG? I think the next step is when RPG understands that it's not just for the local church, but it's to the nations. The heart of Jesus is the nations. And we are near the end times. I've said this many times, that the end is near, the time is urgent, it's time to pray. And so prayer is being reignited all over the world, and Taiwan is strategic. So the next step for Taiwan is to take the RPG movement and marry it to what we call the global Chinese revival movement that partners with Billion Soul Harvest It's a network of churches that want to be a part of gathering 1 billion people to Jesus. And so you have prayer and mission coming together. You have prayer and evangelism coming together. And the next step for the RPG movement in Taiwan is to partner with great movements that are already existing in reaching the nations for Christ. So I see that happening. I'm praying that soon in Taiwan there will be a great arena or stadium event where all of the people or many of those who have gone through RPG, the pastors and people, will gather together in one place publicly, because when we do it in the church, it's only church people. When we do it publicly, everyone sees that something is happening. There's a stirring in the country. I think that an arena event would be the next key thing that will allow the RPG movement to embrace the mission, which is really the ends of the earth, the nations, and then the end will come. That's a very, very intriguing question. It's so important that I don't want to take it lightly. Because unless the older generation, the established pastors, the leadership as we know it, unless they release the younger generation, then after a number of years the church dies. That was the problem and is the problem in Japan. I was in a very large church, one of the largest in the city, Tokyo, beautiful building, had everything you can imagine, but only 200 people. And nobody under 40. It's an old church dying. And I asked them, where's your young people? Well, they've left. Why do they leave? Well, because there's not the embracing, there's this hierarchy. And Taiwan, in one respect, has a similar pattern. There's a hierarchy. And we do need strong, mature leadership. But the key to leadership is being able to release to other leaders. If you don't release and help them, then the next generation is weaker. And that generation will be weaker until it becomes nothing. And I remember a couple years ago, we met with 300 or so pastors at a resort area at the end of my time in that particular time to find out what the next step was for RPG. And one of the things I did, and there were young leaders and old leaders together, and I called the old leaders up first, and they stood in one line. And then I called the younger leaders up to stand in front of them. Now, culturally, the young leaders should stand behind them. But I said, if the young leaders stand behind them, they will never learn, and they will always be the barrier. But if you put the young leaders in front, when they make a mistake, the older leaders are there to catch them, to help them, so that they can learn. And I gave that picture. And I think the key to the church in Taiwan today is embracing young leadership, bringing them alongside, not making them feel that they'll never arrive until they're 50 or 60. That may have been how you arrived, but in order for the church to go on, it can't be the way that the rest would go. There must be that embracing of younger leadership, releasing them, even if they make mistakes, and they will, because we did. So we have to embrace the younger leadership, give them opportunity to lead, and help them when they make a mistake, and prepare them for when they are able to do also mentoring other young. So there must be that releasing of leaders where the church dies.